Welcome to the latest episode of Five on the Floor on the Five Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app, on Apple Podcasts, on Android, Spotify, or the Five Reasons YouTube channel. Also, make sure you subscribe to Off the Floor. That's our Discord server, $2.99 per month. When we have Adele on here, I emphasize this because we have a draft channel on our Discord, and you're going to want to be on there leading up to June. So you get access to that, 9 other channels, and our stage shows. Link is right here in the description. Subscribe to Off the Floor from there. You'll bypass the Apple upcharge, pay $2.99 a month, and you can cancel at any time. But why would you? This is the place for the most heat information, conversation, and of course, consternation. Although not lately. Also, check out the great sponsors of the Five Reasons Sports Network. Includes Prize Picks. Use the code 5FIVE. Put down $5. You get $50 to play right away. Prize Picks, the official fantasy partner of the Five Reasons Sports Network. And yes, if you're outside of Florida, you can play the NCAA Tournament. I was not aware that you cannot do that inside the state of Florida. Do not blame Prize Picks. Blame the folks over in Hollywood. You know what I'm talking about. PrizePicks.com. Use the code 5. Get 50 to play right away. Play up to 6 players together. And, of course, the NBA is always allowed on there. So, again, this is our home for daily fantasy. And now, today's episode.
Mercy. Luxurious. Heat Nation. Yeah. Mercy and Lago. Down to Biscayne. Yikes. Five on the floor. Ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing. You can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars. Wearing bubble frogs. Down to Biscayne. Kept the floor playing. Got it all band. Y'all seen the block. Stop with one hand. And Pat we trust. Inspire have the guts. We're here to bring the heat. Y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to Five on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the Five Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
All right, welcome back to Five on the Floor. Here's today's floor plan. I'm Ethan Skolnick. And follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick at Five Reasons Sports. I got our guy Digital Adel. You can follow him at Digital Adel. Of course, follow him for your draft coverage. He has his own YouTube channel as well. Also puts a lot of the episodes on our new Five Reasons NBA feed. We get a lot from Brian Fonseca and others there too. So check that out. And I'll be posting a link to that more as we head into the playoffs. Today, we're going to update you on where the NCAA tournament stands, but more specifically, because we know this is what you care about, how it relates to the Miami Heat. So as of right now, the Miami Heat seem to be headed to the playoffs, or at least the play-in. We'll see. I don't know. They have their own pick, of course, if they don't make the playoffs, and now they're starting to look like they might. Seems like a very Heat thing to do, to lose 10 games at one point during the season and then all of a sudden figure it out right before the postseason. So we'll see as we speak. They're in the 10th spot. They also have, of course, the Golden State pick. The Warriors are starting to come crashing down to earth a little bit. Now, Curry missed a couple of games, but there's I don't know. There seems to be some issues with Jonathan Kuminga coming back. Of course, Jimmy didn't look so great in the game against Miami. Does look like they will make the playoffs, but it also looks like that pick could get a little better than maybe we thought a week ago. So that is sort of touch and go as we go forward. And so what we've been trying to get into here is what the Heat's picks could look like and who they maybe might target. We've done a couple of draft episodes already. Actually, I've done 2 with Adele, I believe, and 1 with Matt Hannafin. You also catch his coverage. We've covered this from a bunch of different angles, but we just want to focus specifically on the tournament. So, Adele, we kind of know who your 6 or 7 guys that you think are sort of at the top of this draft. Of course, Cooper Flagg hasn't done anything to diminish his draft stock. I mean, even Kevin Love had to come out because people said that if he had a Kevin Love-like career, I don't know who said that, Kevin Love-like career, it would be a disappointment. Kevin Love has won championship, has been many All-Star games, is likely headed for the Hall of Fame, actually, not based on his play this year, but perhaps his IG performance. And Kevin Love came out and said he doesn't mind that comparison at all. That he's a huge Cooper Flagg fan, and he would have loved to have have the career that he believes Cooper Flagg is going to have. So I don't think there's any question if he comes out, that's still sort of a question, but if he comes out, he's the number one pick in the draft. But then you have like between 2 and 6, you have 2 and 7, you got some players you really like. There's been a couple who've jumped up draft boards. I just want to ask you, as you've watched the tournament so far, before we get into specifics on other players, has anything changed in terms of your sort of 6 franchise changers that we spoke about on a previous pod?
Nothing's changed in terms of the franchise changers. They may have, reordered themselves in the grand scheme of things a little bit because some more questions arise for like a VJ Edgecombe, for example. He had a nice tournament run, but he didn't really do anything eye-popping that really was like, wow, this guy is going to have like not saying he's this guy, but like a Dwayne Wade type trajectory through his career because of his playoff run. He didn't really give that vibe off. He didn't really wow me in that way, even though he's still the best athlete in the entire draft. His measurables are going to be interesting. It's one of those things where, is he legitimately 6'5"? What's his wingspan like, his hand size and all that? Because down the stretch of games, he does produce, but he doesn't really give you much in the way of, I'm taking this game over. We're winning this game no matter what. But he still has that franchise potential. It just didn't work out for the Baylor Bears, in particular VJ Edgecombe, to rise above the rest of the class. In terms...
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was going to say, in terms of the Miami Heat perspective, Jeremiah Fears has creeped his way closer to that group. I don't know if he's exactly, I don't put him in there with that group, but what he did in the tournament was super impressive. He checked a lot of boxes that I had questions about. So he's a guy that you're really going to want to look at and pay attention to.
And just to be clear on that, Fears, when we talked about your top 6, he was not in it. You had him somewhere kind of in that, I believe, like 9 to 12, 9
Correct.
to 13 range. Okay.
Correct.
So he hasn't, in your view, moved into that 6, but maybe you feel better about if you were to have 7 or 8 or 9 or something along those lines.
Yes.
In terms of taking him. All right. But obviously the Heat have potential to have 2 picks. One of the picks they're almost certainly going to have, that's going to be the last of the 2 picks. So give me a couple of other names. Let's start here. Guys who are no longer in the tournament. So not watchable right now, but just before they exited, they showed you something.
So guys that have exited the tournament that may have shown me a little bit of something more. Okay, so Rasheer Fleming, he didn't make the tournament, right? He's going to be a guy that everybody's going to want as that 3-and-D wing. 40% free 3-point shooter, great from the free throw line, length, athleticism, point of attack defense. He's going to be one of those guys that I think is going to be a contributor right away. He didn't really get to do a lot in a tournament, but he's definitely not in it anymore. Nick Clifford's a guy who's no longer in a tournament, but he got himself paid in this tournament run, man. You talk about doing everything for that Colorado State team. Being able to score, handle the basketball, shoot the 3 on a high volume, rebound, defend. And he got to show that speed that he has at 6'6", 200 that makes him a little bit unique. He's working himself into that, 17 to 20 range in terms of being drafted there. There's still a lot of guys in that top 30 that are still in the tournament on just these few teams, though, these 8 teams. Boogie Fland, I think he may end up going back to school. I don't know if he was completely healthy for Arkansas during his tournament run. He only played 20 minutes per game. He was on a minutes restriction, played 20 minutes per game the first 2 games, and then played 9 in the last game when they could have really used him. So I'm not sure he was fully healthy.
Before we go on with some of the guys that we should watch now, and we'll get to that on the other side of this break, I want to get your general perspective on this, because I feel like those of us who are not watching college basketball year round and just focus on these like 3-4 weeks, that we overemphasize this at times. I mean, from a Heat perspective, I remember I didn't feel so bad about the Shabazz Napier pick because of what I saw in the tournament for him. It reminded me of what I saw from Kemba Walker before that for
Right.
Connecticut. And Kemba obviously had a very good career. So when LeBron basically said, I want that guy, I mean, LeBron watches the tournament, I think, like I do. So, oh, wow, that guy's pretty good. And then, of course, he drafted him and then, they moved on from him. And he had like a middling career as a backup point guard. He wasn't awful, but he didn't warrant that draft selection. Probably never did if you looked at the measurables. Do we focus too much on what players do in the tournament? Just because we're seeing them against what should be prime competition, but you can make the argument that for some of these guys, like ACC players and such, SEC players, Big 12, that their competition they're playing in the regular season is as good or better than what they're playing in the NCAA tournament, particularly in the early rounds of the NCAA tournament. Do we make too much of it?
It depends on the context, to be honest. We're talking about the best of the draft class. I think it's a great breeding ground for greatness and separating yourself in the tournament, right? But when we're talking about a player that didn't show that all year, didn't have the feel for the game, the measurables, the shooting. I'll give you a great example. You asked me about somebody no longer in the tournament before. Caleb Love got all kind of attention during the tournament. And I got these comments on Twitter talking about, what do you think about Caleb Love? And I knew it was coming. And Caleb Love shoots like a career 39% from the field, 34% from three, doesn't facilitate. He's 6'4", 6'5", only gives you a couple of rebounds per game, turns the ball over twice per game. So 3 assists, 2 turnovers a game. Never met a shot he didn't like, so his shot selection's terrible. But because in the tournament, people saw him perform well, they're like, oh my God, what do you think about Caleb Love? Where's he going to get drafted? He's been in school for 5 years and he's still the same player. He's not a very good player. So he's a great example of people taking what they see in a tournament and projecting it for the entire evaluation. If you make this just a portion of your evaluation, then it becomes very relevant, especially if you're trying to confirm some things about a player. It'll either give you some answers or it could lead to more questions. So it just depends on the context in which you use it in your evaluation.
I mean, that's good advice there because I've seen a lot of these guys over the years. They pop in the tournament. I go all the way back to guys like Ed O'Bannon, etc. Like, I mean, I'm old, so a lot of this. I mean, Tyus Edney going coast to coast. I don't know why I'm mentioning just UCLA guys now, but there is an overemphasis on tournament players, particularly if they're on someone's team that you pick them to go to the Final Four. It's like in your bracket, you pay special attention to them. And they don't always turn out to be what you anticipate. And also, again, the college rosters are thinner than they used to be, so guys have a chance to pop simply because they're next in line. It's not the same as when MJ was basically coming off the bench or was the 5th option for his North Carolina team. But you're like, wait a second, Dean Smith's holding him back, I think. That's the joke on Dean Smith, is that he was the only, may he rest in peace, but the only man to ever hold Michael Jordan under 20 was Dean Smith. All right, we do want to tell you about a great sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. We'll come back with more. Our friend Eric Rubenstein. You can find him at ericrubenstein.com. or 877-829-ERIC. You want to draft him for sure if you have a car accident. This is the guy. I mean, just reach out to him right away. Okay, 877-829-3742. And while you can check out his Instagram, because it's entertaining as hell. He is the most entertaining. You're never going to find a personal injury attorney as funny as this dude. I'm just telling you. And that, look, he'll help you get your money. That's more important. Okay. And he went to St. Thomas. He's from this area, graduated magna cum laude, grew up in Lauderhill. So he's Broward, he's Dade, he's the whole thing. He's like UD. He's Mr. 305 and 954. I ran into UD. People ran into UD at the Sawgrass Mills Mall the other day. Okay. And he's Mr. 305. Anyway, Eric Rubenstein's like that. Everybody knows him everywhere, including Rick Ross, everybody. And again, most important thing, he knows his way around a courthouse. So reach out to him, 877-829-ERIC or ericrubenstein.com. Make sure that you mention 5 Reasons. All right, so now let's get to, right now as we speak, Elite 8, waiting to see who goes to the Final Four. Who is worth watching from a Heat perspective? You are muted.
1,000%. It's Jace Richardson for Michigan State. He's the guard. He's allegedly 6'3", 185 pounds. Lefty, the son of Golden State Warriors former guard, Jason Richardson. And he's a 185-pound freshman. And this is the one thing I want you to pay attention to. It's very important in the evaluations for freshmen specifically. Does the coach put the ball in their hands at the end of games and tournament games? And anytime Michigan State needs baskets, they put the ball in Jace's hands. Whether it's a play to get him an open spot up three, he served 20 some odd points last game on 8 shots. Like, he was super efficient. And down the stretch of the games, they have him running PNRs, curls into the lane, allowing him to make those reads. So there's more facilitating chops there and more ISO ability. But, in Tom Izzo's offense, he runs like a 90s style offense where he'll run floppy and flex all game. And, so for him to put the ball in Jace's hands down the stretch when they need it, that's a big indicator that he's going to be a guy that can, really pop if he gets the opportunity.
Is it okay if I have PTSD from Mateen Cleaves in the NBA? Because that was
okay.
It's okay. I think we do this too much too, where I do anyway, where I equate. If a guy went to a school and played a certain position, I just mentioned the Kemba Walker,
Shabazz.
thing, right? Shabazz Napier thing. I do the same thing when it comes to positions. I'm like, oh, wait a second. I remember a Michigan State point guard. Well, there was another Michigan State point guard that turned out pretty good, but he was 6'9", and he ended up dominating the league and is the greatest point guard of all time. But this seems like a totally different player than Mateen Cleaves. Mateen Cleaves, when I watched him in college, I didn't think he'd be a good pro. He didn't seem explosive enough.
He wasn't explosive. Couldn't shoot and wasn't explosive. Yep.
Yeah, those two things will hurt you. All right, so give us some other dark horses to watch. I mean, Duke, you've mentioned these guys. So I don't know. Is it necessary to go through them again? Although you could.
Con Knippel, for the people out there, is that he's way better than people giving him credit for. At 6'7", 217 pounds approximately, he's a freshman. Outside of Cooper Flagg, he's been the best player in the ACC all year. He dominates in every aspect of the game. And I can't stress this enough. Every aspect. Like, I get the Tyler Hero comparisons. People compare him to Luke Kennard and all kind of stuff like that. This guy is not Luke Kennard. This guy is not Tyler Hero in regards to their college careers. He can actually take people off the bounce. He can consistently beats the close on the closeouts on a three. And when I say that, it's because he's a 40% 3-point shooter. He's a 90% free throw shooter. And he finishes 50+% in the paint. Like, he can get to the rim and finish. He's not like those other guys that people are trying to compare him to for the obvious non-basketball reasons that they're comparing him to those guys. He's not that at all. Somebody compared him closer to Klay Thompson than any of those guys. And that's a better comparison, from what I've seen. And he's a brick wall defensively. You watch this kid in a tournament when he gets switched on to bigger players. They can't move him. They can't shoot over him. They fumble the ball because he is a brick freaking wall. And he doesn't get beat consistently point of attack defense. Speaking of that Arizona game with Caleb Love, Knippel got switched out on Caleb Love a bunch of times. One time he got beat off the dribble. Once. Now, after that first time, not again. The kid's super competitive, the toughest guy on the Duke Blue Devils.
Sounds like a Heat guy. Although I do see, I see a lot of Heat fans kind of pivoting towards Fears now, just because of the obvious need for someone at that position. And you mentioned Richardson as well. And they need someone maybe to complement Tyler, although they may need someone to replace Tyler if they don't extend Tyler. So that's something else to consider here. All right, I'll let you close with this. We appreciate him. Follow him at Digital Adel, trying to squeeze in these episodes as we go, and obviously we'll have our usual game coverage. If you're listening to this before the game tonight, Greg and Brady on the post game pod, this evening, so he'd play basically the remnants of the Philadelphia 76ers. I don't even know who's active for the game tonight. They're not playing anybody. They're trying to get one of these guys. That's really what's going on right now. And then obviously they're trying to get off Paul George's contract. All right, give me the one dark horse, the player that maybe late first round that the Heat could take a look at with that Golden State pick. Is there anybody left that might fit that category?
Yeah, there's actually several guys that are still in the tournament that could go late first, and that's one. Well, Danny Wolf just got, for the University of Michigan, they just got beat by the Auburn, Tigers, but Danny Wolf's a guy. He's a center, 250, 7 foot tall, can handle the ball, averages 9 rebounds per game, almost 13 points per game, 4 assists per game, 1.5 blocks. He had a terrific tournament. He was really their entire offense in that game against Auburn. The other thing is too, this guy may not come out in the draft, but for Auburn, Tahad Pettiford, if he comes out, he could be there in the 20s. You talk about Michael Jordan being held back by Dean Smith. I'm not comparing this kid to Michael Jordan, but Bruce Pearl had him coming off the bench all season. Every big game throughout the year, they needed somebody to score and to bring them back. The ball was in Tahad Pettiford's hands. And last night, the display he put on in the tournament is just going to have him rocketing up people's boards. But I've been talking about Pettiford all year. If he comes out, he's a guy that I would not mind in the 20s at all, even though he's smaller. He's a smaller guard, but he can really, really fill it up, facilitate great vision, super competitive, doesn't get rattled. LeBaron Philon for Alabama, 6'4", 177 pounds, good point of attack defender. Good. He's getting better at 3-point shooting as the year goes on. Even though Mark Sears dominates the ball for Alabama, he still averages almost 4 assists per game, LeBaron Philon. So he can really distribute. He's quick. He's got a good handle. He can get into the paint, can finish at the cup. I like him a lot. One last name, maybe not at Golden State's pick, but could be at the earlier pick. Ben Serif for Ralpharum Ulam. They're a team in Germany. He's actually 6'5", 200. I like his game a lot. He's a lefty, gets to the basket at will in that really physical European brand of ball they play over there. He's not super physical himself, but he's able to finesse it even with the physicality to still get to the rim, get to the foul line. Jump shot needs a little bit of work, but that's a name to keep an eye on as well as Ben Serif.
Sounds a little like Pelle Larson, physicality coming overseas. Of course, he played at Arizona before Miami drafted him. All right, Adel, we appreciate it. Follow the tournament. We'll have more conversations on this as we go forward into the draft in late June. We know that Heat fans seem to be more focused on this than the games of late, so we're trying to give you a little bit of everything. Check out our sponsors, EricRubenstein.com, 877-829-ERIC, and Prize Picks. Use that code FIVE, and of course, subscribe to Off the Floor. Have a good one, everybody.
See you.